Hi, I'm Rebecca.
Hi, it's Larsa. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, me too. So what brings you in today?
Well, I guess I just want to talk about some things that are going on with my family and my parents.
Okay.
My parents are getting a divorce.
Okay.
They were married for 24 years, so I'm 25, and they got married a year after I was born.
Wow. Okay.
So they've been together a while. They were both married before, and I kind of felt like it was a long time coming. They fought a lot when I was younger, and
Okay.
I'm the middle child of 6, but I'm also the oldest that was at the house. So I was
Okay.
kind of like the mediator, and I always knew when things were not right or not okay, and I would like stay up all night and wait for them to like make up and make sure everything was okay before I would like go to bed. And my little brother's like had no idea anything was even wrong. But so my dad and I are like super close, and we're really similar. I get along with my mom somewhat, but she had a very like traumatic childhood and was like just not treated like, I don't know what you would say, like I wouldn't know if you would say like call it abuse, but it could have been classified in today's world as like emotional or verbal abuse. And I don't think she ever separated herself from that.
Okay.
And, like, my dad was also physically abused, but like he separated himself from that and like knew, okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person.
Right.
And like she was never able to do that.
Okay. She wasn't able to do that, separating it from you guys as the kids or to your dad?
To both.
To both.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my dad's like been really like distraught about things with her for a while, and he's like come to me and talked to me about it. So I felt really good at first that, you know, I could be there for him and whatnot.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
As things started to like really bubble up and get worse with her, I felt bad because like I knew he was heading for that and she didn't know.
Right.
And so I felt like conflicted of, well, I know all this information and you don't know any of that, and at the end of the day, even though you are kind of in the wrong, like you should know. And so like I try to talk to my dad about that, like you have to tell her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whatnot. So he actually told her 2 weeks ago that he thinks that they should split up. And my mom texted me because I by chance just asked her like how her weekend was, and then she texted me and was like, oh my gosh, your dad just said that he wants a divorce. And like it has been this issue with my mom and I that like when she has something like dramatic happen, it's like I'm the mom and she's the child, like roles reverse.
Yeah.
And it's like so bizarre because like I know that happens and I don't like it.
Right.
And it's like it's just uncomfortable in that feeling because you feel like you see your parents in this like stable, wise role, and then she's like acting like a 15-year-old would react. So she texted me and was like freaking out about it, and thought that it was just ridiculous and that like their marriage was worth fighting for.
Right.
And, you know, how could he do this? And is it because, like, he wants to go live with my grandparents in Delaware? Which, I'm like, what? Like, where the heck did that come from? Like, really? And then, like, she thought that if she deleted her Twitter, that would help things. Like, what should she do? Where will her and my little brother go? Like, she was asking me everything where I'm like, this is your life. You need to figure that out. Like, you have a son, like, you have a little one at home.
Yeah. How old is
He's 13.
Oh, okay.
So he's still like the baby of the family.
Right.
And then I have a 21-year-old brother, but him and I don't really get along.
Okay.
He's kind of like how she is a little bit.
Okay.
So my mom, like, she is a little bipolar. Like, she could be super nice to you, and then if you say like one thing that she doesn't like, she like flips a switch, and it's like this crazy one like green-eyed whatever monster, like. And if you communicate like as an adult, like what you did really hurt my feelings, like I understand what I said or whatever, even if you didn't do anything wrong and you're still telling her like what you did upset me, she gets mad that you're upset about it, like it's your problem because you're the one that's upset. So then it's like you can't talk to her about it.
Right.
She won't reflect on anything. She doesn't ever say sorry. Like if anything happens, it's everybody else's fault, like she's the victim. And like I really saw it come out to play when we went to the beach this past summer as a family. She like stayed in bed for days, like she wouldn't leave her bed, and then we would try to get her to do stuff as a family, and she just refused. So we're like, okay. And like the rule in my family is like you don't just get like an invitation to, hey, come out and do this.
Right.
Everybody is there, so the invitation is open and you just join if you want to. And then she tried to say that she hadn't been included, everybody was leaving her out, and that's why she was in bed. And she was like freaking out on me. And so I like left the room, and then she tried to come back and apologize, but it was like a one-handed apology, so I really couldn't like accept it.
Right.
And she always has this crazy notion, because she's super controlling, that my dad is just out there cheating with like 25 million women, which is not true. Like,
Right.
she searched, like, he has said, look at everything I have, like, I'm not.
Right.
And I feel like she just has that in her mind, and you can't change it. So I try to tell her, I'm like, do you really think that Dad was doing something that we like wouldn't
Right.
tell you? Like, I would tell you.
Right. Right.
And she, like, I said, you know, you can feel however you want about that situation, but you can't just act however you want because you're mad or you're upset. She completely exploded, said I was completely wrong, like, she was allowed to act however she wanted based on how she felt. And I'm like, no.
Right.
So I, like, the conversation just, like, ended, and it never really went anywhere.
Okay.
But then she told, like, other members of the family that I was terrible to her the whole trip and was so mean and nasty, and just, like, kept calling her out on things and like treated her like crap. And I'm like, no, that's not what happened. And like, my husband just cannot stand her because she's just so disrespectful, and like, she's even like condescending and rude to him.
Right.
Like, he gave my dad a compliment once at, I think it was Christmas dinner or something like that, and she like freaked out.
Wow.
Was like, well, you don't know how he used to be, and like this and that, because like my husband's father wasn't really there, and like wasn't really nice or forgiving to him. So like, he sees my dad act like that, and he's like, wow, I like really wish I would have had that.
Yeah.
So he like made a comment about that, and she just totally freaked out, because like, I guess when I was like little, they had issues, and my dad like wasn't the best husband, but he I guess decided like, okay, I'm gonna get my shit together, and like went and did like church study groups for husbands, and like did all these book studies with church groups, and like went back to church, and like totally revamped his life. And I feel like she's still at like 25 years ago with what happened. And like, she's been given proof that like nothing's going on, and it's just completely destroyed her marriage. And I feel like she like can't see it, and she's been put on anxiety medicine for her blood pressure, because her blood pressure was like through the roof, and they couldn't get it down, and tried all these medicines. And like, when she started to go on that, like, she was normal. Like, she didn't freak out, like, she didn't get angry all the time. She was like even keeled. And then we were like, oh my gosh, like, there must really then be something deeper than just you have high blood pressure. And
something psychological.
Yeah. Because she, just the way she thinks and her perception of reality is just very skewed, and she can turn the drop of a hat when you think everything's fine. Has
anyone ever brought up to her about seeing like a therapist or a psychologist along that line?
My parents saw a marriage counselor when I was little, when they were having issues, but she skewed everything that the counselor said. So like, she'll still bring it up and say, well, Terry said I could act this way, and Terry said I'm allowed to feel this way. And like, so I think she like twisted it to like fit how she was feeling, because like, my dad will tell me, oh no, that's not what she said.
Right.
And like, she had told me in the text messages that she wanted to ask my dad to go and see one now, but my dad's like, the damage is done. Like,
it's been a long time.
I've tried to tell you, you know, it's past that point, and she just thinks it, like, she doesn't understand the severity of the situation, and it's like frustrating, because she's not the type of person that would be like, yeah, this isn't good for either of us, we're both not happy, like, let's bygones be bygones. Like, she said to him, like, I will ruin your life if you leave me. I will destroy your whole company and get everybody fired. Like, she's like that type of person. And so my dad's like, even fearing for his own life, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, even though she might not be able to do all those things, still having someone like threaten that is like really scary. So it's like, even though I know that this divorce is probably for the best, we don't know how like she's going to react to it. So like, that part is like really scary. And that's why my dad has like tried for so long to keep things just peaceful and just keep treading water, because he doesn't want what could happen to happen, but now it's gonna have to. So it's just like hard to think about like the future of how things will be and what's going to happen, because like you have no idea.
Right, absolutely.
So that to me is like really stressful.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure it's very stressful for your dad too.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your mom with her last divorce? I know you would have been very young, but was this similar situation happening with her first marriage, or?
See, they were married before I was born, so like
Okay.
I wasn't like around, or she had just divorced, and then got with my dad, and
Okay.
then they had me.
Uh-huh.
But he was a guy that like he didn't have very many hobbies, and my
Okay.
dad like he loves to do artwork,
Uh-huh.
and like he's very passionate about sports, and like he has a lot of different things that he likes to do. Like
Right.
when I think of older men, I think there's some older men who like just are bumps on along and do nothing, and then there's like my dad who like he likes to work out, he likes to go play basketball at the Y, like he likes to keep doing things instead of like sit at home and do nothing, which is what my mom likes to do.
Right.
And so she gets mad
Okay.
that he like wants to do stuff
Right.
with his life.
Right.
And like she's the type of person that if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, oh, that's stupid. Why would you want to do that? You'd probably break your ankle.
Okay.
Even if you say like, oh, I made asparagus for dinner. Ugh, that's disgusting. I'm like, really? Like, do you have to like make such crazy throw up sounds? Like, is that necessary?
Extreme.
Like that's how she is.
Right.
But like I feel like her first husband didn't have anything like that. It was like
Okay.
she was controlling everything he
Okay.
did, and he was just kind of there.
Right.
And they divorced. I never really understood or knew why. Like it really
Okay.
wasn't like talked about.
Yeah. Well, from that, it sounds like your dad is more independent and has his own things, and your mom seems to struggle with that, with him being independent. Yeah. So you're the oldest of the siblings in the house.
Yes.
You said.
Yeah.
Have you? It sounded like a lot like you were like a mother figure to them. Has that always been like that?
I don't know if I would say I was a mother figure. Maybe I was, and I didn't like realize it. I mean, I have always been like called a mother hen and whatnot, but I guess I kind of was that way. So I don't know. The one like that's 21, like he's more like her, and he doesn't work, and he's super lazy, and like him and I just we're two totally different people with different values and whatnot. And the younger one, like he sees how she is, and like it's really sad when she's like home. Like she actually went away for a weekend to see my sister, and he told my dad like it's so much better when she's not here. And it just like broke my heart that like your son feels that way, and you can't see it. Like you don't see anything that's going on. It's everybody else's fault.
Right.
But like you don't see the damage and the destruction that you're doing.
Right.
Like I've tried to talk to my one older brother. He's just an idiot. Like I don't get along with him at all either, because he's really just a terrible human.
Okay.
But my older sister, like she's kind of with it, and she gets how my mom is, but like she doesn't challenge my mom.
Okay.
Like she's tried to, and they like actually got into a physical altercation, and then my sister's just like, okay, whatever. Like I'm just not even gonna bother.
Right.
And like I do challenge my mom, so I guess that's why her and I clash more.
Right.
But like my sister's like, oh, okay. Like she just doesn't like see that like this is really serious. Like what's going on is like a big deal, and like she just acts like, okay, yeah, she's super mean and this and that. No, it's like more than that. And I think, yeah, she's not in the house and she's not like close by to know, but like she lived with my mom before too, and like she's close with her and talks to her a lot, and like so I just feel like it's like not everybody is understanding the situation.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big step for your dad to finally be taking too.
Yeah.
Separate.
Like,
that'll make quite a difference, especially to your 13-year-old brother.
Yeah, I think he's like happy that he's at that point, but he's like sad at the same time, because it's like it sucks that he's like, you know, I waited so long to do this, and like, you know, the boys saw that you just lie down and take whatever somebody does to you, and like you don't stand up for yourself, and like he's like, I'm ashamed that I set that example, but he's like, I only did it because I wanted to keep the peace.
Right.
It's like, well, I understand that, and I'm sure they will in time too.
Yeah.
But
and that can be common in families that are fighting. It's often thought that the parents, if they just stay together and try to make peace, that it would be okay. But then, like you're saying, like people see it. The kids see what's going on. They see the arguments, or there's one person that's protecting everyone, and it can be damaging in the end. So that is good he's taking that step. How are things with your husband? You had said he comes around the family a little bit. Is he affected by it much?
Somewhat. He's more like abrupt of a person than I am. Like, I will challenge my mom, but I don't consider myself to, like, be blunt or, like, confrontational. I'm more, like, sensitive and emotional. So usually if, like, something happens, I'm like, I can't deal with it right now.
You're right.
And, like, he's more like, okay, well, you're just acting like an idiot, so I'm just going to tell you, and then that's just it. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, like, he doesn't, like, go out of his way to really talk to her a lot because she kind of, like, puts him down a lot, too, and tries to, like, you know, just everything he does is stupid or he's just stupid. And he's just like, I just don't want to be around that.
Right.
So, like, he is really close with my dad. Like, they talk all the time.
That's
and,
great.
like, text each other and stuff. And so they, like, really get along. My husband has said, like, you know, I see how you are and, like, how you treat me and how your father would want to, like, put up with someone, like, treating him that way. Like, why would you want that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he, like, my husband is more like, if he didn't like how someone was treating him, he would just, like, you're just out of my life, you're just cut out.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to just put up with this for years. So to him, he's, like, a little frustrated that he feels like things have been swept under the rug and, like, nobody, you know, wants to just, like, call these people out. And it's like, no, we've tried to in certain ways, and it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't get us anywhere. So, like, he gets a little irritated with us because he feels like we're just kind of, like, just don't want to talk about it. But it's hard to do that. You can't act like that with somebody who I feel like is, you know, most likely mentally ill.
Right.
The approach has to be different. But
Right. Do you have a good relationship with his family?
For the most part, yeah. His parents are really nice, and, like, his family is really great. They're very different in mine, though, because, like, his parents weren't really big on, like, the family, like, hanging out all the time, and, like, my parents, or at least my dad was, like, you know, so we didn't have TVs in our room, and, like, we weren't allowed to stay up in our room all night. We had to, like, be with the family. We always did stuff together, which was really great.
Yeah,
and
that is nice.
Made for, like, decent childhood.
Yeah.
And, like, my husband didn't really have that. Like, they were always working on the house, so he played by himself all the time, always did stuff by himself.
Okay.
And his parents were very, like, if you did something wrong, that means you always do something wrong. If something breaks, it's always your fault. Like, he was the scapegoat a lot.
Okay.
And so, like, they still have tendencies with that, and sometimes that, like, kind of irritates me.
Right.
And his mom is, like, if you knew her, you would just be like, okay, that's just Michelle. Like, that. Like, she means well, but, like, she always acts like, we always, like, go out to fancy restaurants, and we're like, we go to Chili's, like, not really fancy. Like, we spend all this money. It's like, no, we like to wear clothes. Like, and, like, she will wear clothes with paint on them, and, like, she goes to the Mission all the time and gets stuff, even though, like, they're filthy rich and they don't have to. And I'm like, but that's, like, people who need that, and you're taking away from people, and you don't need that. But, like, we get along, like, really well, and, like, they know, like, what's going on, and like, my husband's mom, so my mother-in-law, she's like, I just don't think your mom appreciates it or anything like that. So, like, they understand, but she's not as, like, vocal of, like, putting her 2 cents in. She just kind of, like, listens. It's like, yeah, they really feel bad for your dad.
Right. It does sound like you have a lot of supports then. You have your dad and your husband's family. That is good. How do your siblings take to your mom? You said the 21-year-old's kind of similar. Or do they have a different bond than the rest of you guys?
I think so. She enables him a lot to be the lazy bum that he is.
Yeah.
Like, if he didn't work, she would just pay all his bills. Like, she actually paid his car payment to the point that she got her car repossessed 2 months ago. And it's no big deal, she says, because it happens to everybody. My dad's like, it doesn't happen to everybody. But that's just, again, like, it's no big deal. Like, life is fine. It's not. It's crumbling, and you are stuck underneath. But they fight, like, all the time.
Okay.
Like, they had more, in my opinion, like, more explosive fights than her and I. Like, we would argue, and then that was it. Like, I would just walk away.
Right.
And, like, he's, like, cussing, yelling, like, he's, like, really animated, whereas I wasn't. But they fight, like, a lot.
Okay.
And then the younger one, she, like, always threatens to ground him and get him in trouble. So, like, he's, like, annoyed with her sometimes, but, like, at the end of the day, like, I know he feels how I do. Like, it stinks because it's still your mom. Like, you still love her, and, like, have to have that level of respect for her. But it's hard when that person is toxic and just brings so much, like, chaos to your life. You know what I mean? Like, so that's also, like, hard to, like, think about too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming in. That's the end of our time. I am excited to hear next week how everything's going, though, with your dad's progress with the separation, and I hope that goes well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Absolutely. See you next week.
See ya.